Welcome back to Jaeger Racing. Today we're going to be installing some Whiteline parts onto the Mustang. So to start, we're going to start with some sway bars front and rear. Got some bigger, beefier, bad boy sway bars from Whiteline. We'll be installing them onto the Mustang, making the car handle better, keep it a little bit more flat. It is a girthy girl. And so she needs a little bit of help to make sure she doesn't lean over too much. Some associated parts with the sway bars are the end links themselves. Whiteline makes a really quality product here. Definitely something that I like about Whiteline is the parts look amazing as well as function properly. So you have your fronts and your rears to be able to cinch everything up and get it adjusted correctly. Once you're all done for a vehicle that's lowered, even if it's lowered a little too much. And lastly, we'll be installing these Whiteline rear toe links. They look amazing. They're going to give adjustability and make it easier to make those adjustments. One thing I found in the Mustang that was very annoying to start with is to adjust camber or to adjust toe. To be able to get in there and actually make the adjustments easily isn't very great, especially in the camber section. So parts like this, we're also going to get rid of some of that slop in our older 75,000 mile bushings, get some newer bits on there, and then tighten her up. So first thing we're going to do is get the car all jacked up. After we get it all jacked up, then we'll be able to start disassembly. I'll even use jack stands. So this is our rear sway bar and mounting brackets and end links, and then we're going to have our toe adjustment pieces here, our toe links, and they're all going to go over there. So the first step is actually to take this out, which is the brake line bracket that's actually attached to the sway bar. Then we're going to take the sway bar end link off here and here. Then we're going to go underneath here and take this off. As you can kind of see, I actually have my Varus diffuser, which is mounted to it. So you can see it's kind of dark in here, but up into here, this is where you're going to disconnect the sway bar itself from the chassis, and then we'll be able to pull this out. Alright, so now once you unbolt the actual end link here, then you can take it out. I usually put the nuts with it, because this isn't going to go back on, so might as well just put this back together like this, so I know I'm not reusing those. Alright, so now we're on to the fun part of wiggling this bad boy out of here. These are never fun, ever. And the bushings. At least one bushing. Okay, to do a quick side-by-side, definitely thicker bar. Obviously, biggest thing here is adjustment. Now we're going to have 3 adjustable settings rather than just one non-adjustable. That's just how it is. Alright, so now that we got the sway bar pushed in, now we can go ahead and put these in. For these, you actually do need to put grease in them, unlike the fronts that are non-grease. Alright, now that we got the bar actually in the car, a little bit of a headache because of the diffuser and how it mounts in the same place. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put our end links in. One of the quick things you can do to get a roundabout if you were at stock ride height would be to measure this, the original one, and in theory you open it up to roughly about what it is, and then you put it on. Being the fact that the car's lowered, I should end up with a shorter end link, I believe. So I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter and put it on. I see one flaw, and that is how this mounts. So you could use the original, the end hole, but you can't really use any other. So the only way I can think of would be to cut that tab there to allow this to still bolt wherever you put it. So what I did is I just went in and hit it with a hammer and flattened it. That way I can put it wherever I want. Okay, so while we're in here, we're going to put the toe link in. Pretty simple and easy, literally 2 bolts. Kind of measure what the other one was, and then we'll go make some fine adjustments later on. Loctite on it because everything needs blue Loctite apparently on a Ford. So these are the 2 bolts. This one you reuse with a new nut from Whiteline. This one's a new bolt and on the back side, as well as a metal plate. That makes it so your toe is locked on the car, but you're adjusting now the arm's length to be able to give you that difference in toe, which makes it makes it a lot easier to adjust actually. Alright, as you can see, we have our Whiteline stabilizer bar here. This was actually installed a little bit ago. Obviously it's a pretty quick install. 1 bolt here, 1 bolt there, put it on. Now, what we have now is we have our tow rod here that we can adjust right here, instead of having to use the bolt in this weird fashion back here. This makes it way easier to do adjustments, so that's pretty awesome. And I have my Steeda camber adjustment, being able to adjust that right here as well. So that's pretty nice. Then we have our Whiteline rear sway bar here, end link here, my hammered out thing to attach my brake line still, all right there. I just tightened it up because it looks like it's going to go upward. You want these to sit level when the car is flat on the ground. So that's my guess for the moment. And yeah, overall I have my R1 brakes too. They're doing pretty good. Nice good wear so far. And yeah, my coilovers that are a little bit too low, so I need to raise those up a little bit, but getting there. Just feeling out what the car can do and how it can do it. I put those on the outside here because, well, it was way easier because of my exhaust. I put them outside of both sides. Should inherently do the same thing as if they were in the inside, so no big deal there. And install is all complete on the rear. Now we just got to move to the front. Alright, so now we're moving on to the front sway bar. So for the front sway bar, usually you have to take out your intake, but since I have an aftermarket intake, I get to skip a step. So you can kind of see, not really down there, and definitely see down there. You just take those bolts off. The driver's side, you have to go and get that through the wheel well. Makes it a little bit easier with a wrench. The others you can just use really long extensions and just pull them off and then slide it out. Slide the new one in. Whiz bang boom. Now what we're doing is we're going to take off the end link. Keeping in mind I had end links already. See, I already had end links from Feel, but I will say the Whiteline version looks just a little bit better. All these backups in case something bad happens. So like I said, it looks a little bit nicer, a little fancier. So I would have loved to have shown you me pulling the sway bar out of the front, but in usual, engineers suck, and so you couldn't actually take the mounting pieces off the front sway bar that I could figure out easily. So trying to pull it out, trying to get past my radiator hoses was being a really big pain. Trying to do it by myself. Highly recommend if you had a friend. Would have came in clutch right there. Would have made that really easy. Instead, I thought if this doesn't tell you something. It's also hot, so a lot of cursing, a lot of screaming, a lot of why, and then you yank it out. Alright, so now we're going in here. I'm just quickly putting those in by hand just so I don't, strip them out. And then coming over here, gonna put our end link in here to there. Nice and simple. This guy's gonna sit. Ooh, don't do that. Like so. And this one's gonna sit like so. I'm basically gonna put them in the two middle holes, same as I did the rear, until I can figure out how to balance the car. So now I'm tightening it up on top. I like to, make sure everything's good with by hand before I start going to town on a impact or something like that. Nothing worse than stripping something like a sway bar out. Alright, now we're on to the last step. Putting these little guys on. This makes it so the sway bar can't slide back and forth. It stays even or centered, however you want to call it, the entire time it's in your car. So now I'm just going to slide these on, screw them down, and then we're calling it a day. Alright, so we got our sway bar installed, our end link installed, and the sway bar stopper dill installed. I did them on the outer side of each side just because it was easier to get to. Yeah, so again, I put it on the middle in the front, and I'm just going to try it all three, see which way goes which what, and we'll see how it pans out over the time. Alright guys. Alright, as you can tell, it is definitely hot in summer in Cali. Yeah. But sway bars are all installed, rear toe links are installed, and the Mustang's almost done. I only have one thing left that I really want to do, and that's the rear subframe bushings. Those are last on the agenda. Beyond that, that's going to be everything I want to do to the car. And we're just going to see if we can then hone the car in using data from AEM, and see if we can get the car dialed in using adjustments from Whiteline and so on and so forth, and see how good we can get the lap time to be. Alright guys, stay tuned for some more.